The sound of a zipper shouldn't be traumatic. It's a mechanical sound, simple teeth locking together, but to this day, 3 years later, if I hear a suitcase zipper closing in a quiet room, my heart hammers against my ribs. I can still hear it. It's a final. Sharp like a knife cutting through the last thread of my marriage. I was sitting on the edge of our bed. The mattress, we didn't have a frame anymore. I had sold it 2 weeks ago on Marketplace for $50, just to keep the Wi-Fi on. Elena didn't look at mesh, was focused entirely on her red Samsonite bag, the one her mother bought her. She smoothed out a silk blouse, one I had bought her for our anniversary when I still had a paycheck, and laid it gently on top of the pile. Elena, I said, my voice cracked. I hated myself for it. Elena, please just wait until the end of the month. She didn't stop packing. She grabbed her jewelry box. We talked about this. Mark, she said. Her tone was terrifyingly calm. It wasn't angry. It was bored. We talked and talked and talked. Talk doesn't buy groceries. I have a meeting on Tuesday. I pleaded. I stood up, my hands shaking, with the venture capital firm in Palo Alto, the one I told you about. If they sign, it's a seed round, $2 million. Elena, $2 million. She finally looked at me, and that look, God, that look broke me more than the bankruptcy ever could. It was pity mixed with disgust. She snapped the clasps of the suitcase shut. Click, click. You've been having meetings for 2 years. Mark, she sighed. Checking her reflection in the mirror, she fixed a stray hair. She looked beautiful, impeccable, like she was dressed for a gala. Not a divorce. This one is different, I insisted. I took a step toward her. Reaching for her hand, she pulled away sharply, like I was contagious. Don't, she whispered. Don't touch me. I froze. I can't live like this anymore, she said, picking up her purse. I can't live in a house where we have to choose between heating and eating. I didn't sign up for this. I signed up for a partner, a provider. I'm building a future, I yelled. The anger finally flared up, hot and fast. I'm building something that will change the industry. Nexus isn't just an app, Elena. It's a hobby. She screamed back. Her composure cracked. Her face twisted into something ugly. It's a delusional hobby for a man who is too proud to get a real job. My friends, they go to Sabio, they buy Teslas, and I'm here, clipping coupons for ramen noodles because my husband thinks he's the next Zuckerberg. The silence that followed was heavy. Is that what this is? I asked quietly. Because I can't buy you a Tesla? She grabbed the handle of the red suitcase. The wheels rumbled against the hardwood floor. A low, growling sound. It's because you're a loser, Mark. She said. She didn't shout it. She stated it like a fact, like she was commenting on the weather. You're 32 years old, and you have negative $400 in your bank account. You aren't a visionary. You're broke. She walked to the bedroom door. She stopped. She didn't turn around. Derek is picking me up. The name hit me like a physical blow to the stomach. Derek, my former college roommate, the one who went into corporate finance, the one who played it safe, the one who had the BMW and the condo downtown. Derek? I choked out. You're going to Derek? He has a guest room, she said. And he has a job? Since when? I asked. Since when have you been talking to him? She didn't answer. She just walked out into the hallway. I ran after her. I didn't care about my dignity anymore. I followed her to the front door. It was raining outside. Of course, it was a cold, miserable November rain. A black BMW 5 Series was idling at the curb. The wipers swished back and forth. The passenger door opened. Elena lifted her suitcase over the threshold of our house. Elena, if you walk out that door, I warned, tears stinging my eyes. Don't come back when this works. When Nexus works, don't you come back. She laughed. She actually laughed. She turned to me, standing in the rain, the water dampening her expensive coat. Mark, she said, shaking her head, Nexus is never going to work. Look at you. You're wearing a shirt with a hole in the collar. You look like a homeless person. Do yourself a favor. Give up. She got into the car. The door slammed shut. I watched through the rain-streaked window as Derek, my friend, put his hand on her shoulder. I saw her lean into him. The taillights flared red. Then they faded into the mist. He stood in the open doorway until I was shivering so hard my teeth chattered. I looked down at my shirt. She was right. There was a hole in the collar. I slammed the front door. I slid down against the wood until I hit the floor, and then, in the empty, dark house that smelled of dust and failure, I screamed. The next 3 weeks were a blur of gray. Elena was gone, and She took everything that made the house feel like a home, the paintings, the nice towels, the coffee maker she even took. The ice cube trays, who takes ice cube trays? I was left with a mattress, a desk, my laptop, and a stack of final notice envelopes that formed a leaning tower of terror on the kitchen counter. I stopped eating real food. I bought a 24-pack of store-brand instant oatmeal. I ate it with water because I couldn't afford milk. I sat at my desk for 18 hours a day. Nexus, the code was there, the architecture was brilliant. It was an AI-driven logistics platform that could save shipping companies billions. I knew it worked, but the front end was glitchy. And the server costs were eating me alive. I needed that seed money. Tuesday came the meeting with the VC firm. I put on my only suit. It hung off me loosely. I had lost 15 pounds in a month from the stress, and the oatmeal diet I drove my beat up. 2008 Honda Civic to Palo Alto. I had to park 4 blocks away so the investors wouldn't see my car leaking oil. I walked into the glass building. It smelled like money. Sanitized air and expensive leather. I gave the presentation of my life. I sweated through my shirt, but I kept my voice steady. I showed them the projections. I showed them the beta test results. I looked at the 3 partners sitting across the long mahogany table. Mr. Henderson, the senior partner, took off his glasses. He wiped them with a cloth mark. He said my heart stopped. This was it. The tech is interesting. He said interesting, the kiss of death, but, he continued, we bet on the jockey, not just the horse, and frankly, you look unstable. My stomach dropped. Excuse me? We ran a background check. Henderson said coldly, your credit score is tanked. You're in foreclosure proceedings on your home. As of yesterday, you have outstanding debts to 3 credit card companies. I felt the blood drain from my face. Foreclosure? Elena handled the mortgage. She said she had paid it before she left. I can explain. I stammered. You're a liability, Mark, Henderson said. Closing my file? If we give you $2 million, we're afraid you'll use it to pay off personal debt rather than scale the business. We can't take that risk. I won't touch a dime of it. I stood up. I'll sign a contract. Salary capped at minimum wage. Please sit down. The woman to his left said, the answer is no. Get out. Henderson added. I walked out of that building like a zombie. I walked 4 blocks to my carry, saw a yellow slip of paper on the windshield. Packing ticket $7.5. I checked my bank account balance. On my phone $12.50. I couldn't even pay the parking meter, let alone the ticket. I got into the car. I turned the key. Click, click, click. The battery was dead. I rested my forehead against the steering wheel. I didn't cry. I was past crying. I was in a place beyond sadness. A vacuum. I looked at the passenger seat. There was an old photo strip from a photo booth tucked into the visor. Me and Elena 3 years ago. We were making silly faces. She looked so happy. I looked so full of hope. I ripped it down. I crumpled it in my fist until my knuckles turned white. She was right. I whispered to the empty car. I'm a loser. My phone buzzed. A text from Elena. My heart jumped. Did she know? Did she sense I was in trouble? Was she coming back? I opened the message. It was a photo, a selfie. She was holding a glass of champagne. She was wearing a black dress. I'd never seen something that probably cost more than my care. In the background, there was a sunset over the ocean, and Derek was smiling, holding a cigar. The caption read, finally living the life I deserve. Please stop emailing me about the bills. They're in your name. Good luck. I stared at the screen. The anger returned, but this time it wasn't hot. It was cold, ice cold. It started in my chest and spread to my fingertips. I looked at Derek's smug face. I looked at Elena's perfect, carefree smile. They thought I was dead. They thought I was buried. I looked at the dashboard of my dead car. No. I said. I got out of the car. I popped the hood. I flagged down a stranger to give me a jump. I wasn't going to give up, not because I wanted to succeed, but because I wanted to destroy their perception of May, wanted to make them regret every single breath they took. I lost the house. The bank took it 3 weeks later. I didn't fight it. I let it go. I sold everything that was left, the TV, the old couch, my clothes. Except for 3 t-shirts and 2 pairs of jeans. I got $4,000 total. I used $1,500 to rent a windowless storage unit in an industrial park that had electricity and 24-hour access. They didn't technically allow people to live there, but if you were quiet and you came in late, nobody checked that storage unit became my monastery. 10 feet by 10 feet concrete floor, a single light bulb hanging from a chanai. Put a sleeping bag. In the corner, I set up a folding table. I set up my 3 monitors. I bought a membership to a 24-hour gym down the street for $10 a month, so I could shower, and I went to work. I deleted Elena's number. I blocked her on Instagram. I blocked Derek. I isolated myself completely from the world for 6 months. I didn't speak to a single human being except for the cashier at the grocery store where I bought bread and peanut butter. I rewrote Nexus from the ground up. I found the bugs that were causing the lag. I optimized the AI learning algorithm. I slept 4 hours a night. Sometimes under the desk my beard grew out. I looked wild, but my mind was sharper than it had ever been. The pain of the divorce, the humiliation of the investor meeting, it was fuel, high-octane rocket fuel. Every time I wanted to sleep, I heard the zipper zet. Every time I wanted to quit, I saw the photo of Derek and the champagne work code compiler. Fixed compile success. 6 months in, I hit a breakthrough. I created a module I called the Spider. It could crawl through global shipping manifests and predict supply chain disruptions 2 weeks before they happened with 98% accuracy. It was valuable, insanely valuable. I needed to test it. I couldn't get a meeting with VCs. I was blacklisted, so I did something desperate. I hacked into the public API of a mid-sized logistics firm in Ohio. Not to steal data, but to run a simulation. I ran the Spider on their past 6 months of data. My program found that they had lost $14 million in preventable shipping delays. I generated a report, a single PDF. How Nexus would have saved you $14 million. I found the email of the CEO, a guy named Robert Vance. I sent it at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. Subject line: I can stop the bleeding. I closed my laptop. I ate a spoonful of peanut butter. I curled up in my sleeping bag on the concrete floor. I closed my eyes for the first time in months. I didn't dream of Elena leaving. I dreamed of the numbers, green numbers, flowing like a river. I woke up to a sound I hadn't heard in a long time. My phone ringing, not a text. A call. It was 8:15 a.m. Unknown number, area code 614 Ohio. I sat up, my heart pounding. I cleared my throat, trying to sound like I wasn't waking up in a storage unit. Hello? This is Mark. Mark, this is Robert Vance. The voice was gravelly serious. Mr. Vance, I said. Standing up, I paced the small 10 by 10 square. Did you get my email? I did, he said. My CTO tells me that what you sent is impossible. He says you couldn't possibly know about the Singapore delay unless you had insider information. I don't have insiders. I said, I have math. The Singapore delay was caused by a localized typhoon that slowed down Port Authority processing by 40%. My algorithm tracks weather patterns, political unrest, and labor strikes in real time. Silence on the other end. You hacked my system. Vance said, I utilized public data to show you a better way. I corrected. I could sue you. You could. I agreed, or you could hire me and I'll save you $20 million next year. Another long silence. I held my breath. I looked at the concrete wall. Where are you based? Vance asked. San Francisco. I lied. I was in a storage unit in Oakland. Can you be in Columbus tomorrow? I had $400 left to my name. A plane ticket would cost $300. Yes. I said, good. My secretary will send the details. Don't be late. He hung up. I booked a ticket. I had to wash my suit in the gym shower and dry it under the hand dryer. It was wrinkled, but it was clean. I shaved my beard. I looked in the mirror. My face was gaunt. My eyes were intense. I didn't look like the soft boy Elena left. I looked like a Volf that had survived the winter. I flew to Ohio. I walked into Vance Logistics. I didn't plead. I didn't beg. I plugged my laptop into the projector. I ran a live demo in real time. The Spider flagged a shipment of steel coming from Brazil that was about to be delayed due to a dockworker strike that hadn't even hit the news yet. Vance checked his phone. He called his operations manager. Check Brazil, he barked. He waited. Strike? Confirmed, the manager said over speakerphone. Vance looked at me. How much? He asked. I don't want to sell the software. I said, I want a partnership. You get exclusive use for 6 months in exchange. You fund the infrastructure I need to scale to the global market. And I want a $200,000 salary advance today. Vance narrowed his eyes. You got balls? Kid, he extended his hand. Deal. I walked out of that office with a check in my pocket. I went to the airport. I sat at the bar. He ordered a steak and a glass of whiskey. I took out my phone. I hovered over the unblock button for Elena. I wanted to tell her. I wanted to say, look, I did it. My thumb hovered over the screen, and then I remembered the zipper. I remembered potential doesn't pay for Prada. I put the phone down. No, not yet. This was just the beginning. 2 years past, 2 years of absolute velocity with Vance's backing. Nexus exploded. It wasn't just shipping anymore. We moved into retail, then government contracting, then military logistics. AI was unstoppable. I moved out of the storage unit. I bought a penthouse in San Francisco, not because I cared about the view, but because it was close to the new HQ. I had 200 employees. I was on the cover of Wired magazine. The headline, "The Monk of Logistics. How Mark Siles Built an Empire from a Storage Unit." I worked out. I ate clean. I dressed in custom-tailored suits, but I was hollow. I didn't date. I didn't go out. Every woman I met, I scanned for signs of Elena. Is she looking at my watch? Is she looking at my shoes? Does she love me, or does she love the valuation? I couldn't trust anyone. Then came the offer. Global Web, the tech giant, wanted to acquire Nexus. The negotiations took 3 months. The final number on the term sheet, $250 million cash and stock. I sat in the boardroom. My lawyers were grinning. My board members were practically drooling. I looked at the paper. $250 million. It was enough money to buy anything. Islands, jets, or 1,000 red Samsonite suitcases. I signed my name. Mark Siles. The room erupted in applause. Champagne corks popped. I stood there, holding a crystal flute of Dom Perignon. Felt nothing, just a quiet hum in my head. I walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window, looking out over the bay. It was raining again. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Bank notification. Wire transfer received. The number was so long it didn't fit on one line. I took a sip of the champagne. It tasted like victory. And ash. I unlocked my phone. I went to Instagram. I searched for her. Elena_life and style. Her profile was public. I scrolled the pictures. With Derek had stopped about 6 months ago. The recent posts were different selfies in a smaller apartment, less jewelry, captions that were vague and sad. Sometimes you don't know what you have until it's gone. Missing the simple days. I felt a dark satisfaction curl in my gut. I posted a photo I had never posted in 3 years. My account was dormant. I posted a single picture, me signing the contract, the $250 million figure clearly visible on the document. In front of me, caption, "Sold. Nexus is now part of the Global Web family. What a journey from a storage unit to this." I put the phone down. I waited 1 minute, 5 minutes. My phone lit. Oopa. Text message from an unsaved number, but I knew the number by heart. I opened it. Elena. "Oh my God, Mark. I just saw the news. I am so proud of you. I always knew you could do it." I stared at the screen. The audacity. I always knew you could do it. The lie was so bright it almost blinded me. "You called me a loser." I whispered to the glass. "You left of me to rot." I didn't reply. Minutes later, another text. "Elena, we need to talk. There are things you don't know about why I left. I did it for you. Mark, to push you." I laughed, a harsh, barking sound. Then a third text. "Elena sent a photo." I tapped the screen. The image loaded. It was a photo of a positive pregnancy test dated 3 weeks ago, and under it, a caption, "It's yours. Mark, we froze embryos before the wedding, remember? I used one. I wanted a piece of you back. I'm pregnant with your son." The room spun. My breath hitched in my throat. Embryos we had 5 years ago, before the financial trouble. Elena had a scare with endometriosis, and the doctor suggested we freeze embryos just in case. We paid the storage fees every year, even when we were broke. I paid that fee. It was the one bill I never skipped, but after the divorce I thought the clinic destroyed them. I stopped paying the bill 2 years ago unless she kept paying it. My Sony stared at the little plastic stick in the photo. 2 pink lines. My mind raced. Was it true? Or was this the most elaborate evil con in history? She knew I wanted to be a father more than anything. It was the one thing we talked about constantly before the money ran out. If she was lying, I would destroy her. If she was telling the truth, I typed a reply. My fingers felt numb. Meet me tonight, 7 p.m., the Obsidian Room. Elena, I'll be there. Can't wait to see you. Zoxo. I put the phone in my pocket. I turned to my lawyer, David, who was busy celebrating with the partners. David, I said. He came over, beaming. Congrats again, Mark. What a day. I need you to do something for me right now. Anything, name it. I need you to contact the fertility clinic on 4th and Main. Get the records for Elena and Mark Siles. Find out if any embryos were accessed, thawed, or transferred in the last 2 months. David's smile faded. He saw the look on my face. Mark is everything. Okay. Just get the records, David, and get a paternity lawyer on retainer tonight. Okay, consider it done. I left the party. I went home to my penthouse. I showered, I shaved, I put on my most expensive suit, a Tom Ford $5,000. I put on the Patek Philippe watch I had bought myself as a signing bonus. I looked in the mirror. I didn't see a father. I saw a shark. Let's play. I said the Obsidian Room was the most exclusive restaurant in the city. No prices on the menu, dark lighting, velvet booths. I sat at the corner table. I ordered a bottle of wine that cost more than my first car. 7:05 p.m. She walked in. The air left my lungs. She looked older, tired. She was wearing a dress that I recognized, one from 4 years ago. It was slightly frayed at the hem. Her hair was done, but not by a professional. She scanned the room, looking nervous. Then she saw me. Her face lit up with that smile, that weaponized smile. She walked over. She tried to lean in for a hug. He didn't stand up. I didn't open my arms. I gestured to the seat opposite me. Sit, I said. She faltered, then sat. She placed her purse on the table. Mark, she breathed. You look incredible. Money suits you, does it? I asked flatly. I thought I was a loser. She flinched. I was angry. She said quickly. She reached across the table to touch my hand. I said things I didn't mean. You know how I get. I know exactly how you get, I said, pulling my hand away. You get into a BMW with my best friend while I'm standing in the rain. She looked down at the tablecloth. Derek was a mistake, she whispered. He wasn't who I thought he was. He was controlling me, and I left him 6 months ago, and now you're here. I said, just as the wire transfer hits my account. Remarkable timing, Elena. She looked up, eyes swimming with tears, crocodile tears. I couldn't tell yet. It's not about the money. Mark 1 reached out before I knew. I sent that text about the baby before I saw the news. You sent the text 3 minutes after I posted the photo, I corrected. I had it drafted, she stammered. I was scared to send it. Seeing your post gave me the courage. I leaned back, swirling the wine in my glass. The baby. I said, show me. She reached into her purse. She pulled out an envelope. She slid it across the table. I opened Ida medical report from the clinic. Transfer successful, dated 4 weeks ago. Patient Elena Siles. It looked real. Why? I asked. We've been divorced for 3 years. Why would you do this? She took a deep breath. Because I missed you. She said, I missed us. I realized that leaving you was the biggest regret of my life. But I was too ashamed to come back. I thought if I had your child, maybe I would have a piece of you to love even. If you never spoke to me again, she wiped a tear. I didn't do it to trap you. Mark, I did it because I still love you. The silence stretched. It was a perfect performance, Oscar-worthy. If I were the old Mark, I would be climbing over the table to hold her. But I wasn't the old Mark. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from David. My lawyer, David. Got the records. Call me. It's urgent. I looked at Elena. She was watching me with wide, hopeful eyes. Excuse me, I said. I have to take this business. Of course, she said softly. I walked to the bathroom. I locked the door. I dialed David. Tell me. I said, Mark, David said, his voice tight. The clinic records show that Elena Siles did come in 4 weeks ago, and she didn't use your embryo. I frowned. What? Your embryos were destroyed due to non-payment 2 years ago. Mark, the clinic has the disposal log. Then what did she transfer? She used a donor embryo. David said, an anonymous donor. She paid for the premium tall athletic profile. I felt the blood rush to my head. Are you sure? 100%. I have the billing code right here. Mark, she's pregnant, but it's not yours. She's faking the paperwork. I hung up the phone. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. She wasn't just a gold digger. She was a psychopath. She had gone to a clinic, gotten impregnated by a stranger, forged documents, and waited for the moment I had money to spring a trap. She was going to pin a random child on me to secure 18 years of child support and a chunk of my fortune. I felt a calm settle over me, terrifyingly deep calm. I washed my hands. I dried them. I adjusted my tie. I went back to the table. Elena was sipping the expensive wine. She looked confident now. She thought she had May sat down. I smiled a genuine, warm smile. Elena, I said. Yes? She asked. Hopeful, you're right. We have a history and a child that changes everything. Her eyes lit up. It really does. I don't want to fight anymore. I said, I want to take care of you, both of you. She let out a sob of relief. Oh, Mark. That's all I wanted. I want to buy you a house? I said, a big one for the baby, and I want to set up a trust fund, $5 million. She gasped. Mark, you don't have to. I insist. I said, but we have to do it right. My lawyers are very strict now since the sale. Okay. She said, whatever you need, I need you to sign a document. I said, just acknowledging that we are reconciling and that I am voluntarily accepting paternity. I'll sign anything. She said, great, meet me at my office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., bring the medical papers. We'll make it official. I signaled the waiter for the check tonight. I said, go back to your place, pack your bags, leave everything behind tomorrow you start. A new life. She reached across and squeezed my hand. Thank you. She whispered. I knew the old Mark was still in there. Oh, he is. I said I paid the bill. I walked her to a cab. I watched her drive away. Then I took out my phone. David. I said into the night air, draft a document and call the district attorney. I want to report a fraud, a massive one. The next morning, the sun was shining. I was in my office at the new Nexus headquarters, glass walls, views of the Golden Gate Bridge. David was there, so were two police officers. Standing in the adjacent conference room, out of sight, 9 a.m. sharp. Elena walked in. She was glowing. She wore a white dress. She looked like a bride. Mark, she exclaimed, rushing in. Elena, I said, standing behind my massive oak desk. Have a seat. She sat down. She placed the forged medical papers on the desk. I'm so excited. She said, I looked at houses online all night. I bet you did. I said, David slid a document toward her. This is the Paternity Acceptance and Reconciliation Agreement. David said, it states that Mark acknowledges the child is his, based on your representation, and agrees to the financial terms. She didn't even read it. She picked up the pen. Wait, I said. She stopped, pen hovering over the paper. One last thing. I said, read the clause at the bottom, paragraph 4. She frowned. She looked closely. The undersigned, Elena Siles, swears under penalty of perjury that the biological material used in the conception of the child is exclusively that of Mark Siles and Elena Siles. Any falsification of this fact constitutes criminal fraud and attempted extortion. She laughed nervously. Standard legal jargon, right? Standard, I nodded, if it's the truth. Of course it's the truth. She said she signed it. She pushed the paper back to me. Done, she smiled. When do we get the check? I picked up the paper. I looked at her signature. You don't? I said. What? I pressed a button on my desk phone. Send them in. The side door opened. The two police officers walked in. Elena's face went white. Mark? She stood up. What is this? I know about the clinic, Elena. I said softly. I know about the non-payment. I know the embryos were destroyed. And I know you bought a donor sample. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. You just signed a sworn affidavit claiming it was mine. To secure $5 million, I said. That's attempted grand larceny and fraud. No. She stammered. No, Mark, it was a mistake. I can explain. You wanted a provider? I said, standing up and walking around the desk. The state will provide for you now 3 meals a day. Mark, please. She screamed as the officers grabbed her arms. I'm pregnant. You can't do this. You're pregnant with a stranger's baby. I said coldly, and you tried to sell it to me. I did it for us. She shrieked, struggling. I love you. You love the money, I said. And the money is mine. They dragged her out. She was screaming my name. Screaming that she was sorry, screaming that Derek made her do it. The door closed. The silence returned. David looked at me. He looked a little pale. That was intense, he said. It was necessary. I replied. I walked to the window. I looked down at the street. I saw the police car. I saw them putting her in the back seat. The red lights flashed. I thought about the zipper. Giuseppe thought about the rain. I thought about the hole in my shirt collar. I took a deep breath for the first time in 3 years. The knot in my chest loosened. It was over. The scandal hit the news. Of course, billionaire's ex-wife arrested for paternity fraud. It was messy. Derek got dragged into it. Turns out he had helped her fund the clinic visits he lost his job at. The finance firm Elena pleaded guilty to avoid a long prison sentence. She got probation and community service. But her reputation was incinerated. She moved back in with her parents in Arizona. The baby was born a boy. She has to raise him alone. As for me, I didn't buy a yacht. I took a year off. I traveled not to fancy resorts. I went to hike in Patagonia. I rode motorcycles in Vietnam. I reconnected with who I was before the money. Before Elena, I met someone. Her name is Sarah. She's a librarian. She didn't know who I was when we met. She drives a 2010 Subaru. On our third date, I told her everything: the bankruptcy, the storage unit, Elena. The revenge. I thought she would be scared. She just took my hand. You carried a lot of weight for a long time. She said, you can put it down now, and Didi sold the penthouse. We bought a regular house with a nice yard. Nexus is still growing. I'm still the CEO, but I leave at 5 p.m. now sometimes. When it rains, I still look out the window, but I don't hear zipper anymore. I hear the rain, just the rain, and it sounds like peace.